Have you ever wondered why the most powerful men in history, emperors, philosophers, conquerors, spoke about self-mastery as if it were the key to all realms? Why did Marcus Aurelius, while commanding the world's largest empire, write in his diaries about the importance of controlling his most primitive impulses? The answer lies in a truth that our modern society has buried under layers of instant pleasure and immediate gratification. Sexual energy retention is not repression, it is transmutation. It is the alchemy that transforms the lead of desires into the gold of achievement. We live in an age where every impulse is celebrated, where every desire must be immediately satisfied, where discipline is seen as old-fashioned and self-control as neurosis. But while you lose yourself in this illusion of freedom, your life force slips through your fingers like sand. With each ejaculation, it's not just semen you lose, it's potential, it's magnetism, it's the energy that the ancients called the creative force of the universe. The Stoics knew this, Napoleon Hill discovered this, and now you are about to awaken to this truth that can transform not only your life but reality itself around you. The fire that burns in your belly is not your enemy, it is your fuel. But fuel wasted on fleeting pleasure is like burning diamonds to warm your hands. Sexual energy is the same force that moves the stars, that brings life out of nothing, that inspires artists, that builds empires. When you dissipate it unconsciously, you are not just masturbating, you are masturbating your own existence, fragmenting your power, scattering your vital essence to the winds of mediocrity. Imagine an ancient warrior who, before each battle, pours his purest water into the desert. Imagine an alchemist who, before each experiment, throws away his rarest elements. This is you, daily dissipating the force that could move mountains, create fortunes, magnetize people, transform dreams into reality. Retention is not about denying pleasure, it's about choosing a greater, more lasting, deeper pleasure. It's about choosing to be the master of your destiny instead of a slave to your impulses. The Stoics understood that the mind is like a garden. You can let it grow wild, overrun by weeds of compulsive thoughts and unrestrained desires, or you can cultivate it with the discipline of a master gardener. Retention is the first and most fundamental act of mental gardening. It is saying to the universe, I choose where my energy goes. I decide what receives my life force. I am the architect of my own reality. When you retain your sexual energy, something extraordinary happens. First, you feel a restlessness, a tension, as if something inside you is being compressed. Your mind can create 1,000 justifications for you to give up, 1,000 reasons for you to relieve yourself. But it is precisely at this moment that transmutation begins. This tension is not discomfort, it is potential being accumulated. It is energy being concentrated, it is power being forged in the crucible of your discipline. The ancient alchemists spoke of solve et coagula, dissolve and coagulate. First, you dissolve your old patterns of instant gratification. Then you coagulate that energy into something higher, mental clarity, personal magnetism, creative force, irresistible presence. The man who practices conscious retention is not depriving himself of pleasure. He is preparing himself for pleasures that most can't even conceive. The pleasure of seeing his dreams materialize, the pleasure of feeling his will shaping reality, the pleasure of being a magnet for opportunities, people, and abundance. Your sexual energy is like a powerful river. You can let it run directionless, creating destructive floods and then periods of drought. Or you can build a dam, accumulate that force, and direct it with surgical precision to where you want it to go. Compulsive masturbation is the directionless river. Conscious retention is the dam. And transmutation is the irrigation system that transforms deserts into flourishing gardens. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, did not just control an empire, he controlled himself. And it was this self-control that gave him the power to control the world. When you retain your sexual energy, you are not just saving bodily fluids, you are saving the very essence of creation. You are becoming an accumulator of life force, a concentrator of potential, a generator of reality. Think of the moments when you feel most magnetic, most confident, most powerful. It is not after an ejaculation. It is when you are full of this energy, when it is circulating in your body like electrical current, when your eyes shine with an inner light that people instinctively feel. This is the energy you scatter every time you give in. This is the force you fragment every time you choose 5-second pleasure instead of the power of a lifetime. Modern society has created a billion-dollar industry based on the dissipation of your sexual energy. Pornography, adult entertainment, dating apps, all designed to keep you in a constant cycle of arousal and release, like a hamster running on a wheel. But you are not a hamster. You are a descendant of conquerors, of civilization builders, of men who shaped the world with their will. And your will is directly connected to your ability to control the most powerful force in your body. When you practice retention, you are not just changing a habit, you are changing your vibrational frequency. You are tuning in to the frequency of power, success, achievement. People start to notice something different about you. Your voice carries more authority, your eyes have more depth, your presence has more weight. You become a magnet for opportunities that previously went unnoticed. And here is the secret the Stoics guarded. Reality is malleable. It responds to the strength of your will, the clarity of your intention, the intensity of your energy. When you constantly dissipate this energy, you are sending a message to the universe that you are weak, scattered, directionless. When you retain and transmute it, you are declaring that you are strong, focused, determined, and the universe responds accordingly. There is a reason why the greatest leaders, artists, inventors, and visionaries in history spoke about temporary celibacy, about periods of retention, about the power of sexual transmutation. They knew that this energy, when consciously directed, can literally move mountains. Nikola Tesla was celibate, Leonardo da Vinci practiced transmutation, Mahatma Gandhi spoke about brahmacharya. They were not repressed, they were alchemists, transforming the most primitive energy into the most sublime creations. Your retention journey is not about becoming a monk or living a life without pleasure. It is about becoming the master of your own power, the director of your own energy, the architect of your own reality. It is about understanding that true pleasure does not come from constant release, but from conscious accumulation and intelligent transmutation. If you have come this far, it is because something within you resonates with this truth. Something in your soul recognizes that you were made for more than this existence of instant gratification and dispersed energy. If this message is touching the sleeping warrior within you, if these words are awakening the alchemist that exists in your essence, then join this journey of transformation. Subscribe to this channel. Activate the bell, because what you are about to discover in the coming weeks will revolutionize not only your understanding of sexual energy, but your very experience of reality. Do not let this flame go out. Feed it with your presence, with your attention, with your decision to become who you truly are. Now, let's go deeper. Retention is not an event, it is a process. It is a journey through the valley of the shadow of your own desires to the mountaintop of your personal power. And like every heroic journey, it has its phases, its challenges, its revelations. In the first days of retention, you will feel as if you are in a battle. Your mind will create images, fantasies, justifications. Your body will seem to be in rebellion. But this is not failure, it is purification. It is as if all the energy you have scattered for years is coming home, as if all the fragmented parts of your power are gathering again in one place, you. The Stoics called this the discipline of desire. It was not about eliminating desire, but about purifying it, refining it, directing it. When you feel the sexual impulse arise, instead of being swept away by it like a leaf in the wind, you become the observer, the director, the master. You feel the energy, you recognize it, you honor it, and then you redirect it to where it can serve your highest purposes. This energy can be transmuted into artistic creativity. Great writers, painters, musicians discovered that their periods of greatest creative output coincided with periods of sexual retention. The energy that was being spent on orgasms was being channeled into creative orgasms, moments of inspiration so intense that they became mystical ecstasies. It can be transmuted into financial power. Entrepreneurs who practice retention report greater mental clarity, sounder decisions, greater personal magnetism in negotiations. Sexual energy is creative energy, and creation is the essence of entrepreneurship. When you retain this energy, you are not just saving sperm. You are concentrating your creative power, your manifesting force. It can be transmuted into leadership. Natural leaders have something that followers instinctively feel: presence. And presence is undispersed energy. It is concentrated life force. It is accumulated personal power. The man who practices retention develops a personal gravity, an energetic density that people feel even before he opens his mouth. It can be transmuted into spirituality. All serious spiritual traditions speak of the transmutation of sexual energy. In Tantra, in Taoism, in mystical Christianity, in Sufism, there are always mentions of sublimating this primitive force into spiritual realization, because this energy is literally the creative force of the universe in miniature within you. But here's the deepest part. When you practice retention, you are not just changing your behavior. You are changing your identity. You are moving from the identity of someone who is controlled by their impulses to the identity of someone who controls their impulses. You are evolving from reactive to proactive, from scattered to concentrated, from weak to strong. Compulsive masturbation is a symptom of a fragmented identity. It is the man who does not know who he is, trying to find himself through temporary sensations. It is the man who has no purpose, trying to fill the void with fleeting pleasure. It is the man who does not recognize his power, trying to feel something, anything, that reminds him he is still alive. Conscious retention is a symptom of an integrated identity. It is the man who knows who he is and where he is going. It is the man who has purpose and directs all his energy to achieve it. It is the man who recognizes his power and uses it wisely. When you retain your sexual energy, you are doing more than controlling an impulse. You are declaring your sovereignty over yourself. You are telling the universe, I am the master of my own house. I decide how my energy is spent. I choose where my life force goes. And the universe responds, not in a mystical or supernatural way, but in a very practical way. People start to respond differently to you. Opportunities begin to appear. Your mind becomes clearer, your body becomes stronger, your voice carries more authority, your eyes have more depth, your presence has more weight. This is not magic, it is physics. It is the conservation of energy applied to human life. It is the first law of thermodynamics operating in your existence. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. When you stop destroying your energy in empty releases, it transforms into personal power, into magnetism, into concentrated life force. The Stoics spoke about memento mori, remembering death, not out of morbidity, but for perspective. You have a limited number of days on this earth. You have a limited amount of life energy. You can spend it on momentary pleasures that leave nothing but emptiness and fatigue, or you can concentrate it on achievements that will remain long after you are gone. Each ejaculation is a small memento mori, a reminder that you are scattering the force that could build something eternal. Each act of retention is a small memento vivere, a reminder that you are accumulating the force that can create immortal. When you master your sexual energy, you don't just master an impulse. You master the principle behind all impulses. You develop the ability to say no to your immediate desires in favor of your long-term goals. You develop the willpower that is necessary for any great achievement. Think of anyone you admire, any leader, artist, entrepreneur, athlete, thinker. They all have one thing in common: the ability to delay immediate gratification in favor of greater rewards. This ability is developed through the practice of retention, starting with the most primitive and powerful impulse that exists. Sexual retention is like strength training for your will. Every time you feel the impulse and choose not to act on it, you are strengthening your discipline muscle. Every time you channel that energy into something productive, you are training your capacity for transmutation. Every time you keep your energy concentrated, you are developing your personal power. And here is the bottom line. A man who practices consistent sexual retention is not just different in the sexual aspects of life. He is different in all aspects. He has more energy for work, more presence in relationships, more creativity in projects, more authority in leadership, more magnetism in communication. He becomes a more potent version of himself. Your mind, no longer clouded by the constant release of energy, becomes like a laser, focused, precise, powerful. You begin to see opportunities that previously went unnoticed. You begin to make sounder decisions. You begin to attract people and situations that are aligned with your highest goals. This is not theory, it is experience. It is the natural result of not scattering the force you were designed to use in creating an extraordinary life. It is what happens when you stop being a slave to your impulses and become a master of your energy. The retention journey is not easy. There will be moments of weakness, moments of doubt, moments when you question if it's worth it. But remember, every great journey has its challenges. Every hero faces his moment of darkness. Every master went through the apprentice phase. What separates those who succeed from those who give up is not the absence of difficulties. It is the presence of purpose. When you have a purpose greater than your momentary pleasure, when you have a clearer vision than your immediate impulses, when you have a stronger identity than your fleeting desires, then you have what you need to persist. Your sexual energy is your life force in its purest form. It is your creative energy in its most potent expression. It is your personal power in its most primitive manifestation. When you learn to retain it, concentrate it, direct it, you are not just changing a habit, you are awakening to your true power. The man who masters his sexual energy is not a repressed man, he is a liberated man. Liberated from the slavery of impulses, liberated from the tyranny of desires, liberated from the prison of instant gratification. He is free to use his energy as he chooses, direct it where he decides, channel it for what matters most. This is your choice. Continue to be a slave to your impulses or become a master of your energy. Continue to scatter your life force in empty pleasures or begin to concentrate it on lasting achievements. Continue to be common or begin to be extraordinary. Sexual retention is more than a practice. It is a declaration. It is you telling the universe that you are more than your impulses, stronger than your desires, more powerful than your compulsions. It is you claiming your sovereignty over yourself and, in doing so, claiming your right to shape reality according to your will. Your mind does not dominate reality by chance. It dominates it because you have mastered yourself. And self-mastery begins with the mastery of the most primitive and powerful force that exists within you, your sexual energy. When you retain this energy, you are not just saving fluids, you are saving power. When you transmute this energy, you are not just changing a habit, you are changing your life. When you master this energy, you are not just controlling an impulse, you are controlling your destiny. This is the truth the Stoics knew, that Napoleon Hill discovered, that the great men of history practiced. Sexual retention is the foundation of all personal power. It is the first and most fundamental act of sovereignty over oneself. It is the practice that transforms slaves into masters, followers into leaders, common men into extraordinary men. Your journey begins now. Your transformation begins today. Your power is waiting to be discovered. All you need to do is make the decision to stop scattering your life force and start concentrating it. All you need to do is choose to be the master of your own strength instead of its slave. Reality is waiting to be dominated. Your mind is waiting to be liberated. Your power is waiting to be awakened. And it all begins with a simple choice. Retain instead of release, concentrate instead of scatter, master instead of be mastered. Make that choice. Make that decision. Start that journey. And discover for yourself the power that has always existed within you, waiting only for your permission to manifest in all its glory.